Chelsea have completed another transfer. Shocking, I know. In this video, we discuss the signing of João Felix, why he's a very confusing player, but ultimately one we're very excited to see him play. This is our thoughts on Chelsea's new signing, João Felix. Alright, let's get into it then. João Felix joining Chelsea for £44.5 million on a 6-year contract. Harry, what was your initial thoughts when you saw this go through?
Well, I think it's an interesting one. Todd Boehly strikes again with another transfer. I think from a Chelsea point of view, overall, was another signing needed? Probably not, with the amount of deals that they've made this summer and before. Felix, I think we have to focus on the player more than the Chelsea's business. I think he's a very, very good player. He looks really good at Atleti. He's had a tough couple of years. Also, he had a 6-month loan spell at Chelsea, which didn't quite go to plan. I think he looked decent, in the game against West Ham at the Olympic Stadium. I remember well, but I also remember his debut against Fulham where he got sent off. So, swings and roundabouts. It was a bit of a tricky loan spell for him in England with Chelsea. But as we've seen before, he likes the club. He enjoyed his time in London. Clearly, he's very happy. He likes the fans. I think the fans were excited by him at the time, and I think if he can hit the ground running, he's a player that could really shine for Chelsea.
Yeah, I get the infatuation with Felix because I absolutely adore him. I think he's a fantastic player to watch. But for me, he is so confusing because aesthetically, he is world class. When he's on the ball, the way he moves, the way he carries himself, he's got that, not to use the football Twitter term, but he's got an aura about him. He's got a presence out on the field.
Yeah.
But his goal contributions and his actual contribution to winning a game of football just isn't there. But so it's a weird one, isn't it? Because he gets fans off the seat and he clearly loves the club and he clearly loves playing football. But he's not productive enough. So it's a weird conundrum because I really like watching him play.
Yeah.
But is he going to help Chelsea win? It's difficult to say.
And I think the problem for Felix, I feel for him in this case a little bit, but it's an interesting one to understand, is that he did well at Atleti, but then obviously Simeone is very much, we are going to be physical and be aggressive. Felix isn't a physical aggressive player, so he didn't fit in at Atleti. However, I don't think the move for him, when you're not a physical and aggressive player, the move isn't to leave La Liga for the Premier League. The Premier League for me is the toughest league in the world. It's the most physical and most combative league in the world. For me, Felix isn't that kind of player, which is why I worry that maybe it's not going to work out in the Premier League. That's why I feel he struggled in his loan spell, because he isn't a big, strong player. As you say, brilliant on the ball, tidy footwork. That's why he does well and he excels in Spain, in Italy. If he went to, I'm not saying he hasn't been, but if he went to Italy, if he went to Germany, he would excel in those leagues. But for me, in the Premier League, the one thing you don't have is time on the ball. If he doesn't get time on the ball, as you say, it's very hard for him to impact the game.
Yeah, let's look at some base statistics then for João Felix. So, as you can see on screen now, his goals and assists throughout his career. I've highlighted, of course, that Chelsea season, 20 appearances on loan in the back half of the 2022-23 campaign, I believe it was. And, so 4 goals, no assists. It's not the most productive, but there are signs that he can be very productive. You look at his breakout season at Benfica, he scored 19 goals and 11 assists in 41 games. So that's 30 contributions in about 40-odd matches. So that's a really good ratio, really good return rate. He scored over 10 goals in 3 La Liga seasons, most recently last season on loan at Barcelona, but also in 2020-21 and 2021-22. So he has had some productive seasons, and he did score 5 goals with Atleti before joining Chelsea on loan. So another one with Chelsea and he would have hit that 10 mark again.
Yeah.
So he can put goals in the back of the net, but it's just, he's not a high-volume goal scorer. He's not a high-volume chance creator, and he definitely lacks that end product. But I feel that with a manager who believes in him, with a manager who can get behind him, Felix can be a fantastic signing.
Yeah, I will admit, I know I've mentioned the loan spell a lot, but that back end of the 22-23 season, I think it's very hard to name any Chelsea players that played decently well in that team. That was a terrible time to be at Chelsea. I wouldn't say it's still a great time to be at Chelsea. It's slightly better, but it's not much better.
But you've got to remember, during that loan spell, he started under Potter. Potter was sacked. In came Lampard. In came Salter. Salter was sacked. In came Lampard. It's not exactly the most stable time to be at a football club. And I did think there were glimpses of real quality. We saw that West Ham game that I think sticks in a lot of Chelsea fans' heads, where Enzo plays that brilliant ball in behind. It's a really tidy finish from Felix. He's shown a lot of quality. I remember watching him against Fulham, and he was so impressive, so exciting to watch, and then obviously put that red card tackle in.
Yeah.
And it's moments like that just frustrate you. But there is so much talent there. If a manager like Maresca can unlock it, I think this is an absolute bargain. So yeah, really good addition.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where he would fit at Chelsea though, because I think that's another pressing matter, is that Chelsea do have a lot of attackers. So we'll put on screen now all of Chelsea's attacking options. Now, Raheem Sterling is on here. We expect him to leave shortly, so we can ignore him.
Thank God.
But we have got a lot of attackers. On the left flank, we could be looking at Mudryk. I put Neto over there because I expect him to start on the left wing, but he could be on the right wing. So you've got options either side. You've got Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who we think will play attacking midfield this season, or at least that advanced midfield role. We've got Enzo, who started in that role at the weekend. We've got Nkunku in there as well. That's the position we expect Felix to play, either attacking midfield or left wing. There's already 5 players there. There's a lot to go around. And Palmer, obviously, who we think should play centrally as well. There's a lot of players.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It really is bizarre, because even though Chelsea are going to be playing in 4 competitions this season, there's still not enough minutes for all those players to play, and it is just a ridiculous scenario at Chelsea. It's hard to judge because I don't know how much Felix is going to play. We don't know how many minutes he's going to play. As you say, there are so many players that play the role he's going to play. What does he play in? Because but the other problem for Chelsea is that all those players want to play the majority of the minutes, but they simply can't because there is not enough minutes to go around. So for Felix, I mean, I know we'll get, but to pay 45 million for a player that might not play that often is remarkably stupid. But I don't know. It is a situation that I feel bad for Enzo Maresca, because yes, he's got the quality, but if anything, it's too much quality because you can't play it all, and then you'll hear all these stories about. I mean, Sterling's already releasing statements and putting things into the press and media. Slowly, it's going to be hard to keep everyone happy.
It very much depends for me as how you define these players, because if you say that Neto and Madueke are your right wingers, and that Felix and Mudryk are your left wingers, that's 2 wingers per flank, with obviously some young options as well. Then Palmer and Nkunku are your attacking midfielders. I don't really know where Dewsbury-Hall fits in at all. Enzo and as well another attacking midfielder. You could even play Nkunku as false 9. You've got a lot of options, but it's very much depends on how you describe their position. Because if you think that we're going to play out and out wingers this season, then Felix can't really play on the left wing, so he's an attacking midfielder. Palmer can't really play on the right wing, so he's an attacking midfielder. Suddenly we've got 2 attacking midfielders playing the same role. And Neto's then a left winger, and we've only got 1 right winger and Madueke that we're trying to force out. It just becomes so confusing that when you try and piece together what we're doing. So I don't know. I really like João Felix. I really like him as a player. And I'm happy to see him back, and that's the confusing aspect, because he's a player where we should be going, well, he's £44 million, he doesn't provide a lot of end product, but he is a player I think that a lot of Chelsea fans love and adore, and I think he's someone who clearly cares a lot about the club and will wear his heart on his sleeve. I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, going the other way is Conor Gallagher, and I think that weighs on a lot of Chelsea fans' heart, especially the match-going fans. But when you consider that we've signed João Felix and got $6 million from it, and obviously the Felix deal will be amortised over years, whereas the Gallagher FFP, for FFP reasons, that is pure profit now. If it means we avoid a transfer ban, I don't think... I think that Felix is more suited to Maresca than Gallagher is.
Yeah, I think Felix could be a very positive one for Chelsea as a whole, because he is a player that when he did come in on a loan, the fans liked him. Even as he said, he was at Atleti for years, never got a chant. He had a chant after 1 game at Chelsea. I think the main thing for Felix, if Felix can hit the ground running, he's the type of player that can get the fans excited about watching Chelsea again. With him and Palmer are firing, and Chelsea look defensively solid, the fans get back on side. I think that is the main thing Chelsea need to focus on. Yes, and it all comes together. If they focus on getting the results, you get the fans back on side, and that is the main thing at Chelsea Football Club right now. Is there are too many fans who are against the club, against the management, against the ownership. Players like Felix could change that. Now that's the problem though. That shouldn't be his responsibility. And I mean, he doesn't know that. I'm not saying that to him, but that's all what we think. But as you say, I think the main problem is, and the reason I find it hard to get on board this transfer, is to the supporters and to the public eye, this simply looks like this deal was made just so Conor Gallagher would leave.
And I think in that regard, people are frustrated by it, but it is a transfer that makes a bit of sense. For me, and I know people disagree with this because they rate that Samu Amora Dion, but I prefer signing Felix to Amora Dion. I don't think that Amora Dion and Gueye in the same squad makes any sense because they're both young strikers competing for that same spot, especially when we've got an academy that's got players like Jimmy J. Morgan coming through and other young talents like that. It doesn't make any sense to keep buying 18-year-old strikers.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're going to sign a striker this season, it's got to be someone like an Osimhen, which I still have doubts about as well. But I like the Felix signing. The other thing I want to say is on calculated risk, because he is, for me, if Felix adds end product to his game, he is worth that 100 million that Atleti paid for him.
Yeah.
If he scores consistently in the Premier League, he is worth that value. Because I think his dribbling, I think his take on numbers, it's hugely successful. And we did see at Barcelona him add that end product to his game at times. He didn't get a consistent run, really. He had a few injuries at times. He was in and out of the side because obviously they have quite a few players. So he never really got consistent game time. But when he did play and he did start, he was very good. And I think there is such a talented player in there. And for me, the worst that happens here is that we look in 3 years' time and it's not, or 2 years' time and it's not worked out, and Jorge Mendes takes him to Saudi Arabia to earn, $1 billion a week, and it's a £60 million transfer. So I don't see where the downside is.
Yeah, I think
I think we will make our money back because of Jorge Mendes.
The transfer working out is a tough situation, I think, at Chelsea, because for Felix, the main thing he's going to need is time. But I'm really hoping, because he's already had a 6-month loan spell in England, he knows what's the league like, he knows how Chelsea operates. I'm hoping he can hit the ground running fast, because that's exactly what Chelsea, they need someone to come in and start performing from minute one, because for me, that is the worry at the moment for Chelsea, is that there are so many transfers and there have been so many players. Obviously, it's hard to judge after only watching one Premier League game, that Chelsea needs some transfers to work out, at least, because if not, it's going to look like a terrible... I was thinking, hopefully, Felix will be one of those players that comes in and does really well, because as you say, when he's at the top of his game, when he's performing, he will deliver results for Chelsea. He will, get the fans back on side, and he will flourish. That is best case scenario, and Chelsea could be soaring up the league. And again, he doesn't put up much numbers, but what he also does is he allows other players to excel. So if Felix is on form and he is playing well, he can unlock Palmer's greatest talents. He can unlock Nkunku, unlock Jackson, unlock Neto, and then suddenly all these players that people who are out of form and have struggled to get going in the Premier League would suddenly be on fire. Yeah. And then that suddenly flips a switch, and the whole momentum at Chelsea is completely different.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk then about João Felix's numbers, because we've seen his base numbers. They aren't the most incredible. They aren't the most, let's go and spend loads of money on him. But I think his underlying numbers present a player who is very, very good. Let's look at his FBref profile. 95th percentile for non-pen goals last season, 0.47 per 90, is really strong in his position across the top 5 leagues. Non-pen XG up in 0.49 per 90, that's the 99th percentile. So he is slightly underperforming his XG, but it shows he's getting into those right sort of positions. And shots total, which is something that really excites me, is 3.68 per 90, which is in the 96th percentile. The reason that excites me is if you look at why Chelsea lost to Man City at the weekend, it's because we didn't take enough shots, and it's because the shots we did take weren't very good. What you can see from Felix's profile is that he's very good at getting shots away. And if we get him in the right situations, he will score goals. Like that is just what's going to happen. I do think his assist, his creativity numbers are a little bit low. Only 41st percentile for shot creating actions, 45th percentile for expected assists. But his dribbling numbers really strong as well. He's in the 88th percentile for touches in the attacking penalty area, which shows he gets into the box a lot, 6.22 per 90. Successful take-ons up in the 56th percentile, 1.7 per 90. So he's shown he can take players on. He's shown he can beat a man. Progressive carries as well, 61st percentile. For someone that can drive that ball from the halfway line towards the penalty area, look dangerous, I think he does really suit that. So I'm excited by him. He's someone I really enjoy watching, and I really hope he can provide end product this season and become a really crucial player in this Chelsea team. I think there's a lot of talent there, and if a manager like Maresca can unlock it, then it's a fantastic deal. It's just whether or not that comes to fruition.
There's so much potential around Chelsea and João Felix at the moment. If that can, as you say, that can be unlocked. If Chelsea can find that level, then the team and Felix could really shine and could fly right out the table. The problem at the moment is it is very much an if rather than a when. If it does work out, then it could be phenomenal. And Felix, he could have an incredible season.
Yeah, the thing for me, and I heard John McCain's talking about this actually on the TIFO podcast, is that with Maresca, he is a good enough manager that if he implements a good structure, and we did see elements of this in the Chelsea City game, if you implement a good enough structure with the quality in this Chelsea squad, it is bound to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be terrible. If you make us somewhat defensively solid and let the attacking players flourish, Chelsea have the individual quality to go out and win games.
100%.
If they can start taking those chances. I do think, again, Jackson's got to start flying the back of the net. I think once Palmer, who's back to full fitness, because he didn't really have a pre-season, I think once he's back to full fitness, Chelsea look like a hugely threatening side, especially in transition. So I think there's a lot of positives for Chelsea this season, and I know obviously the media is very negative. They always are about Chelsea, but I do think, as from a Chelsea fan's perspective, I'm positive about this season. I thought the City game went really well. I think we played well, even if we didn't get the result that we would have wanted. Servette in the Conference League on Thursday night shouldn't have any issues. You'd have seen that now. We're recording in advance, of course, but you'd have seen that by now. Hopefully we won that game. If not, we're going to look stupid in this video. And obviously Sunday, I think we should be beating Wolves, but I guess we'll see. If not, we'll probably be doing a video on it, so look out for that next week.
It's a must-win for Maresca, I feel. Wolves away isn't going to be an easy game. They're a decent side, but if Chelsea lose that, as I said earlier, the fans are already very negative. There's already a load of questions around Chelsea. A drop of points at Wolves, and then suddenly the questions are going to be raised even higher, and then there's pressure on Maresca, and that's where it goes wrong again for Chelsea. So for Maresca, I'm not saying the season's going to be decided on whether we draw or lose to Wolves, win or lose to Wolves, but it is such a crucial result for momentum for Chelsea.
Yeah, definitely. Should be an interesting one, though. But that's everything, I think, for this video. If you want to go and watch our analysis of Chelsea versus Manchester City, that'll be on screen now, where we talk about what went well for Chelsea, what didn't, where Maresca's got to improve, and what Guardiola ultimately did very, very well. But that's everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.